everybody. Thanks for joining us. Time to get back to the South Australian Sports Show. We've had a bit of a break. We're ready to fly. Barry Curtin joins me, as always, in the co-host seat. Baz, how are you?
Mate, fantastic, I am. Good to be back.
It's good to be back. There's been a fair bit happening before we came back, mate. So we've had the Australian Open, we've had the Tour Down Under, we've had the V8s here.
Adelaide.
I tell you, Adelaide is alive at the moment, so I'm not a political animal, but Peter Malinauskas has done an amazing job.
I couldn't agree more, mate.
I go into state and all of a sudden people have gone, gee, Adelaide's great, got a lot going on over there at the moment. Still got gather round to come. There's a few whispers and we'll talk about those later in the show, but just great. If you're a sporty person right now in South Australia, we're probably beating everybody else.
Well done, Peter.
Yeah.
No, I mean that. Good on him, because he said, I could never work out why the V8s left Adelaide anyway. Could never work that out. That was just totally ridiculous to me. I think they said, oh, it was an economic disaster. Well, it wasn't.
Wow.
And
that's the hoteliers.
Exactly right, mate. And so good on him. And he's chasing big things too. And to get gather round, that was another thing. He got that's huge over Sydney. Of course, I must give him a mention too. The ex-Premier of New South Wales, Pettitet, was it Pettitet? Something like that? Yeah. He baked SA a couple of times really badly. He really had a crack. I was sitting there one day watching him go, whoa, hang on, mate. Hey, that's my town you're talking about. Well, the big SA Karma bus ran over him.
Yeah, got baked on the election.
He's gone. He's gone. Next, don't bag SA. That's all I'm saying. No, don't bag it.
I went to the Motorsport Festival on the weekend.
Brilliant.
And if you haven't been, and I'm starting to learn more about cars. My partner Nat is right into it.
I know,
so
Nat.
She's dragged me along. And I'll tell you what, it gets infectious though. Not only do you see there's some phenomenal cars, you start looking at McLarens and Ferraris and Maseratis, but then on the track, and it rained unfortunately when I went, and it didn't seem to stop it going. People were loving it. But you're watching these guys that love their cars, and it's a bit more show around the racetrack. But then they had this section they called drifting, where the cars came out and deliberately drifted. I tell you, the skill of those drivers. At one stage, 4 of them come to a U-bend, and they all come in sync together and go back around, and you're going, they're going to prang into each other here. There's no way they're not going to drift in. Didn't. Guys are doing spinning. It was just brilliant.
They're brilliant, mate.
And then to get around it, and just the enjoyment that people just love their cars. You know, they come out of them and they're excited to be on the track. There's a lot going on in South Australia. They're all the good things that are happening. I want to ask you about one of our South Australians, Travis Head. I know it's been a while ago since we came on, but I haven't been able to let it go. I wanted to talk to you, and you probably should, but someone has to be accountable. The number 4 batsman
in the world,
is averaging 87.5 in 5 tests. Prior to that, we played the first test and we decide to leave him out. Someone has to be accountable.
And we get flogged.
Oh, and then he comes back in the second test and then he helps us win the third.
That's right.
You go, come on. And I know we're biased because we're South Australian, but that, you know, often when players are out of form, they get dropped. There's a selector, there's someone there that's badly out of form. I want to know why they're not getting dropped.
Well, this is the thing, mate. I mean, this is how bad it was, how silly it was. My brother rang me to see if I was watching the test match. It had just started. The Australians are in there, the ball's running on the ground, and he said, you know what I would do? He said, I would bring Travis Head in at number 3. That's what I do. I'd promote him up to number 3. And I said, mate, he's got to be in the team to bat at number 3. And he said, well, what are you talking about? I said, well, he's not in the team. No. And he did not believe me. He didn't believe me that Travis Head was in the team. Now, that goes for the rest of the world, really. But my point here, Phil, is I would like to be in that meeting, in that selection meeting, where somebody said, hey, I'll tell you what we do. Let's leave Travis Head out. Because if I headed up that meeting, I'd say, well, hang on, no. This is not a joking session. Let's be serious here, because this is very important. Because I would have thought that's a joke if someone said that in a selection meeting. Now, and I'd also like to be the person who went to Travis Head to tell him, mate, that is, and nobody paid for that decision. Nobody. There wasn't one bloke that came out and said, look, that was me.
It has to be someone.
Of course it has to be someone.
Normally the cricketers, the past players are divided on issues. All of them.
Everyone.
All of them.
To a man.
Matthew Hayden was probably the strongest, but they were all. It'd be like saying we're playing in a grand final. Collingwood are in the grand final at the moment. Dacos has had 5 ripping games, plus a great season. We might leave him out in the grand final because he wasn't all that good last year.
That's right.
You know, the final series. Right. Could you imagine that?
Well, it's
Dusty
the same
Martin,
thing,
let's
mate.
leave Dusty Martin out. We're in the finals,
thing,
but
mate.
he had 3 or 4 bad games last year leading in. We better leave him out.
Well, this is how good a player
Surely
Travis Head
current
is.
form is your best guide.
Of course it is,
So
mate.
how could Warner go in ahead of... And I'm not having a go at Warner,
Right.
but, well, I know it sounds like... And effectively, his lead-in was nowhere as good as Travis.
Well, his form
Nowhere
didn't
good.
warrant him being picked.
So you
Simple.
go, how does that happen? Last one on cricket, and then we'll move on. Steve Smith made captain of the one-dayers.
Yeah.
So Steve Smith, I think...
I wouldn't have
he
made him.
2010 was his debut for Australia in Test cricket.
Yep.
So we're now 13 years further on.
Yep.
And they're saying he's our best option for captain. So we haven't been able to develop a future captain in 13 years.
That's right,
I'm not
mate.
saying that.
That's
I
right.
don't think he should be based on what happened. I know people go, "How long do you pay a penance for what you did?" But
Yeah, well,
you know, some things you just can't get over that. But 13 years and we haven't been able to find someone else.
No, we haven't.
Could replace him.
But there's one staring at him in the face who they dropped in the first test. This is Travis Head.
Yeah.
Look, I wouldn't.
If he was from New South Wales,
well,
and I've never subscribed to this, but I'm starting to listen to what you blokes are saying. I think there's some validity to that now.
yeah,
You go,
that's right.
If he was New South Wales, he'd be captain.
yeah. Well, see, right now, this is only my opinion about Steve Smith. You know how strongly I feel about this, but I wouldn't make him captain of the Popeye. Purely, and I mean that, mate. I mean that in a nice way because you don't cheat. I don't care who you are, what sport you play. You do not cheat. And Australians have never been ones to do that, and we cheated. So those players there, they should never have a senior role again. And like you said, how long do you hold a grudge? Well, no, that's the worst thing you could possibly do as the Australian captain. In cricket especially, because they liken that job to the Prime Minister. That's more important than the Prime Minister.
Yes,
well, okay, if it's more important than the Prime Minister, mate, you cheated, you're out. You can play, we'll bring you back, but you're not captain. You don't captain. Because what message does that send to the junior cricketers coming through? Okay, maybe I can get a bit of sandpaper out
We've
once.
always prided ourselves on that, and we've been strong on cheating regardless. So you can't make yourself strong on it and then bend the rule. Last one, how long before... We've asked for the selector that left Head out, or the two of them to pop their hand up.
Yeah.
What about the blokes that got rid of Justin Langer right now?
Well, there you go. There's another one.
So you go.
It's probably the same people, mate.
Wowee.
This is probably the same people.
Where has Cricket Australia gone since he went?
Where has Cricket Australia gone since 2013?
Is there an apology saying we got it wrong?
Yeah.
I'd be happy if they said we made a mistake.
They won't do that, mate.
Hey, we're off and spinning, mate. We'll get back into all the positives when we come back.
Okay.
Plenty of people in the studio today. Looking forward to getting onto it. Hope you can stay with us. Really enjoy your company for the next hour. Stay with us. Plenty to come on the show.
Thanks, guys. It's good to be back for another year in sport. Well, it's showdown week as SA's two home teams prepare to fight it out for bragging rights. Port Adelaide will host the Crows at Adelaide Oval in what's set to be a thrilling match. Both teams are coming off losses, with the Crows going down to Richmond on Saturday by 32 points. It was a shaky start for the Crows, who at one point trailed the Tigers by 45 points. But thanks to some quick goals by Rochelle, Rankin and Walker, the Crows were able to make a miracle comeback in the third quarter. Unfortunately, they weren't able to hold off Richmond, who sealed the win by kicking 5 goals in the fourth. The loss leaves the Crows still searching for their first win of the season. And it wasn't any better news for Port, I'm afraid, who went down to Collingwood at the MCG by a margin of 61 points. The Pies were impressive from the start, kicking 9 unanswered goals in the first half. Young gun Nick Dacos was a standout for his club, finishing with 32 disposals and 2 goals. And in another loss for Port Adelaide, they're set to lose key defender Ryan Burton for the showdown after the club decided not to challenge his 2-match ban for his sling tackle on Collingwood's Jamie Elliott. Tom Cleary is expected to step in as replacement. On a more positive note for Port fans, the club's heritage prison bars Guernsey is set to make a long-awaited comeback. Earlier this month, it was confirmed that Collingwood had agreed to let Port Adelaide wear the iconic black and white jumper. Showdown 53 kicks off at 7 p.m. local time. Can't wait. Well, he might not be part of the circuit this year, but Formula One great Daniel Ricciardo is certainly keeping busy. In a newly released video, the Red Bull reserve driver was seen racing through the Australian outback and performing some pretty impressive stunts. Pit stops included Broken Hill, Seacliff Bridge, and of course Mount Panorama. It's all in anticipation of the Australian Grand Prix, which is set to take place this Sunday in Melbourne. Ricciardo was dumped last year by McLaren, despite still having a year left on his contract. His seat was taken by fellow Aussie Oscar Piastri, who's had a difficult start to the season, failing to score any points so far. Let's hope he'll have some better luck this weekend. And remember this name, Nestori Iracunda is a forward for Adelaide United, and at just 17 years of age, he's caught the eye of Socceroos coach Graham Arnold. Iracunda has been selected as a train-on player for Australia's 2 friendly matches against Ecuador, and it's no surprise the superstar forward has scored 4 goals for the Reds this season, and Adelaide United are set to play Western Sydney Wanderers tonight. And that's all the news we have for this week. I'm Nina Smagic. Have a wonderful weekend, and I'll see you at the footy.